Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse reading. And I'm going to say this plain and simple reading of the Bible. We are going through the entire Bible. And currently we are in 2nd Chronicles chapter 20. Yes, chapter 20. I'm sorry, I thought I was reading my screen wrong. Okay, chapter 20. This is as we're going through from the kings of Judah. What's going to be interesting as we're going to go through, we're going to see after Jehoshaphat. What's going to be interesting that Elijah is going to send one of the kings a letter, and I'll elaborate on that more when we get to it. The idea was that Elijah pretty much ministered to the kings of Israel, or I should say prophesied. But here we're going to close out Jehoshaphat. And again, remember Jehoshaphat had the bad habit of allying with wicked people. And even after he was rebuked, he still goes back and he allies with the wicked King Ahab's son. All right, so let's get to it. Verse 1, chapter 20, verse 1. After this, the Moabites and Amorites, together with some of the Mennonites, came to fight against Jehoshaphat. People came and told Jehoshaphat, a vast number beyond the Dead Sea and from Edom has come to fight against you. They are already in Hazaron Tamar, and that is Engedi. Jehoshaphat was afraid, and he resolved to seek the Lord. Then he proclaimed a fast for all Judah who gathered to seek the Lord. They came from all the cities of Judah to seek him. Again, we're going to see God's mercy in this. And what is amazing here is he will seek the Lord here, but will not kind of seek the Lord who he should ally with, even after he's been rebuked. Verse 5, Then Jehoshaphat stood in the assembly of Judah and Jerusalem in the Lord's temple before the new courtyard. And he said, Yahweh, the God of our ancestors, are you not the God who is in heaven? And do you not rule over the kingdoms of the nations? Power and might are in your hands. No one can stand against you. Are you not our God who drove out the inhabitants of this land before your people Israel, and who gave it forever to the descendants of Abraham, your friend? It is kind of interesting that we see in Genesis, Abraham was called the friend of God, which would have been written by Moses, of course. Verse 8, they have lived in the land and have built you a sanctuary in it for your name, and have said, if disaster comes on us, sword or judgment, pestilence or famine, we will stand before this temple before you, for your name is in this temple, and we will cry out to you because of our disasters, and you will hear and deliver. So he's making his case. Verse 10, now here are the Amorites, Moabites, inhabitants of Mount Seir. You did not let Israel invade them when Israel came out of the land of Egypt, but Israel turned away from them and did not destroy them. Look how they repay us by coming to drive us out of your possession that you gave us as an inheritance. Our God, will you not judge them? For we are powerless before this vast number that comes to fight against us. We do not know what to do, but we look to you. Now, this kind of last statement here, we don't know what to do, but we will look to you. Many times in situations that we face, we don't know what to do. A lot of cases, we don't really know how to pray. But notice he said, we will look to you, God. All Judah was standing before the Lord with their infants, their wives, their children. In the middle of the congregation, the Spirit of the Lord came on Jehaziel, son of Zechariah, son of Benaiah, son of Jehiel, son of Mattani, a Levite from Asaph and descendants. And he said, listen carefully, all Judah and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. The king Jehoshaphat, this is what the Lord said. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast number, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Tomorrow go down against them, and you will see them coming up the ascents of this, and you will find them at the end of the valley, facing the wilderness of Jeruel. You do not have to fight this battle. Position yourself, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. He is with you, Judah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid or discouraged. Tomorrow go out and face him, for Yahweh is with you. Then Jehoshaphat bowed with his face to the ground, and all of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and fell down before the Lord to worship him. Then the Levites from the sons of the Kohathites and the Kohathites stood up to praise the Lord of Israel, shouting with a loud voice. And in the morning, they got up early and went out in the wilderness of Tekoa. As they were about to go out, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, Judah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in Yahweh, your God, and you will be established. Believe his prophets, and you will succeed. I just want to say a quick word about this. There are a lot of people today who use this phrase. The problem, and the phrase is, believe in the Lord your God, and you'll be established. Believe his prophets, and you will succeed or prosper. The problem with people today using this phrase is they're not true prophets. That's the problem, and they are using this to get money. Give thanks to the Lord, for his faithful love endures forever. Verse 22. The moment they began their shouts and praise, the Lord sent an ambush against the Amorites, Moabites, and inhabitants of Mount Seir, who came to fight against Judah, and they were defeated. The Amorites and Moabites turned against the inhabitants of Mount Seir and completely annihilated them. When they had finished with the inhabitants of Seir, they helped destroy each other. It's kind of like this weird how they start turning on each other and fighting each other, killing off each other. When Judah came to the place overlooking the wilderness, they looked for a large army, but there were only corpses lying on the ground. Nobody had escaped. And Jehoshaphat and his people went and gathered to plunder. They found among them the abundance of good on the bodies and valuable items. So they stripped them until nobody could carry them anymore. They were gathering the plunder for 3 days because there was so much. Now remember, for some reason, whenever they would go to war, everybody would always take all of the jewelry and stuff and deck themselves out. That's why there was so much plunder. Verse 26, they assembled in the valley of Baraka on the 4th day, for there they praised the Lord. Therefore, that place is still called the valley of Baraka today. Then all the men of Judah and Jerusalem turned back with Jehoshaphat, their leader, returning joyfully to Jerusalem. For the Lord enabled them to rejoice over their enemies. So they came into Jerusalem to the Lord's temple with harps, lyres, and trumpets. The terror of God was on all the kingdoms of the land when they had heard that Yahweh had fought against the enemies of Israel. Then Jehoshaphat's kingdom was quiet, for his God had given him rest on every side. So unlike Ahab, his counterpart, we see God giving Jehoshaphat great victories. Now, what is also interesting is that, remember, the people around heard this. This is their testimony. It's what they saw. The God, Yahweh, had helped Israel. Verse 31, Jehoshaphat became king over Judah. He was 35 years old when he became king, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Azubah, daughter of Shilhi. He walked in the ways of Asa his father. He did not turn away from it, but did what was right in the Lord's sight. However, the high places were not taken away, and the people had not yet set their hearts on the God of their ancestors. Now, this gives us a little insight to the mindset of the people, even though Jehoshaphat was a good king. Remember, every now and then we'll see how the people had to discard all of their idols, right? One fault, too, is that he didn't take the high places away. So they would keep offering pagan offerings and sacrifices and worshiping at these pagan places because he never took them away. Now he says the rest of the events of Jehoshaphat reign from beginning to end are written in the events of Jehu, son of Hani, which is recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. After this, Judah's king Jehoshaphat made an alliance with the king of Ahaziah, who was guilty of wrongdoing. Now, Ahaziah was Ahab's son. Jehoshaphat formed an alliance with him to make ships to go to Tarshish, and they made ships in Ezron Geber. Then Eleazar, son of Davani, who of Marhab, prophesied against Jehoshaphat, saying, because you have formed the alliance with Ahaziah, the Lord has broken up what you have made. So the ships were wrecked and were not able to go to Tarshish. For some reason, he just never learned his lesson in this respect here. Chapter 21. Jehoshaphat rested with his father and was buried with his father in the city of David. His son Jehoram became king in his place. He had brothers, sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Ezra, Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. Their father had given them many gifts, silver and gold, and valuable things, along with fortified cities in Judah, but he gave the kingdom to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. And when Jehoram had established himself over his father's kingdom, he strengthened his position by killing with the sword all his brothers, as well as some of the princes of evil. So he came out to be an evil person, right? And he would kill his brothers to kind of, just so no one else would claim the throne. All right, so Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done. For Ahab's daughter was his wife. Now we're going to come to her later. And he did what was evil in the Lord's sight. But because of the covenant the Lord had made with David, he was unwilling to destroy the house of David, since the Lord had promised to give him a lamp to David and to his sons forever. During Joram's reign, Edom rebelled against Judah's domination and appointed their own king. So Joram crossed Edom with his commanders and all his chariots. Then at night he set out to attack the Edomites who had surrounded him and the chariot commanders. And now Edom is still in rebellion against Judah's domination this day. Libnah also rebelled at the time against his domination, because that he had abandoned Yahweh his God, his ancestors. Joram also built high places in the hill of Judah, and he caused the inhabitants of Jerusalem to prostitute themselves, and he led Judah astray. Then a letter came to Jehoram from Elijah the prophet. Now, this is one of the first times we're going to see Elijah in the Chronicles. We saw a lot of his ministry in the Kings, because he mainly prophesied to the northern tribes. That this is what Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, David says, because you have not walked in the ways of your father Jehoshaphat, or in the ways of Asa, king of Judah, but have walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, have caused Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem to prostitute themselves, like the house of Ahab prostituted itself, and also have killed your brothers, your father's family, who were better than you. Yahweh now is about to strike your people, your sons, your wives, and all your possessions with a horrible affliction. You yourself will be stuck with many illness, including a disease of the intestines, until your intestines come out day after day because of the disease. Yikes, right? Yikes. The Lord put it in the mind of the Philistines and the Arabs who lived near the Cushites to attack Jehoram. So they went to war against Judah and invaded it, and they carried out all the possessions found in the king's palace, and also his sons, his wives. Not a son was left to him except Jehoahaz, his youngest son. After these things, the Lord afflicted him and his intestines with an incurable disease. This continued day after day until 2 full years passed. Then his intestines came out because of his disease, and he died from severe illness. But his people did not hold a fire in his honor like the fire held in his fathers, for his fathers, or in honor of his fathers. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He died, and to no one's regret, and he was buried in the city of David, but not in the tomb of the king. What a horrible way to die. This intestine, it just came out. Anyway, it was horrible, grotesque. It would be sort of a good word here. And by the way, at the prophecy of Elijah, like I say, we're really going to see Elisha in this in Chronicles here. Chapter 22, verse 1. Then the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his place, because the troops that had come with the Arabs to the camp had killed all the oldest sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, became king in Judah. Ahab was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, granddaughter of Ormi. Now, I told you we would come back to Athaliah later on. She noticed this, her father, by the way, remember, this is the father of Ahab. So this is as wicked as it comes, okay? He walked in the way of Ahab, for his mother gave him evil advice. And again, so just take this in mind. Ori was evil, Ahab was evil. Ahab's wife was Jezebel, okay? So he did what was evil in the Lord's sight, like the house of Ahab, for they were his advisors after the death of his father to his destruction. He also followed their advice and went to Joram, son of Israel's king, Ahab, to fight against Hazael, king of Aram, in Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so he returned to Jezreel to recover from his wounds they afflicted on him in Ramoth Gilead when he fought against Aram's king Hazael. Then Judah's king Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, went down to Jezreel to visit Joram, son of Ahab, since Joram was ill. Ahaziah's downfall came from God when he went to Joram. When Ahaziah arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nishi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. So when Jehu executed judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the rulers of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brother, who were serving Ahaziah, and he killed them. Then Jehu looked for Ahaziah, and Jehu's soldiers captured him. He was hiding in Samaria. So they brought Ahaziah to Jehu, and they killed him. The soldiers buried him, for they said, he is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So no one from the house of Ahaziah had the strength to rule the kingdom. Verse 10, when Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to annihilate all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. And then Jehoshaphat, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah, from the king's son, who were being killed, and put him in one of the nurse. Let me read. I'm going to read verse 11 again. Jehoshaphat, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah, from the king's son, who were being killed, and put him and the one who nursed him in a bedroom. Now Jehoshaphat was daughter of King Jehoram, and the wife of Jehoiada the priest. Since she was Ahaziah's sister, she hid Joash from Athaliah so that she did not kill him. While Athaliah ruled over the land, he was hiding with them in God's temple for 6 years. Now we will get to Athaliah in the next study. Very wicked woman, much like Jezebel. Okay, much like Jezebel. So again, reading this always is kind of just this is what wickedness does, right? And I remember I told you that the sinfulness of man, this is the thread we see throughout the Bible. There's a few threads that we see from Genesis to Revelation. The sinfulness of man is one of them. Okay? Alright guys, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. As always, if you have a thought, a comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I will see you in the next study.